Right, let's start. I have a different question today, and let's see whoever joins later. We can post it. I would like to ask from your experience with the token engineering commons so far, what is making you enjoy the most from everything that you've been involved with? And I'll go first. I like the Thursday calls, especially when there's new news pumping up, like yesterday with the news of the demo, seeing how the project is evolving. It's very nice and very interesting. And I also like those calls because we have a chance to thank everyone and get a quick update of what's going on the different areas of the project. You want to go next, Ivy?
Sure. So I don't usually join the Thursday calls, but I always watch it because I dish praises. So I can say that's also one of the things that I've been enjoying in TEC because I can get updates just listening and just listening to the praises. I can have an idea already what everybody is doing, and I can feel the gratitude culture when people are dishing praises. So that's one thing that I've been enjoying a lot. And yeah, I think that's it. And I pass it to Sean.
Thanks, Ivy. I haven't been around TEC that long, but I have to say what I enjoy is just the seemingly relentless progress that's being made on so many different areas at one time. I think it's a sign of a really mature community that so many concurrent projects are kind of being pushed forward at the same time, whether it's the demo or Gravity or whatever the case is. So it's very impressive. Back to you, Santi.
Thank you, Sean. Griff, we are asking today from your experience throughout the project. What are the things that you enjoyed the most? The meetings, the gatherings, the groups, the working groups. What are those?
In general, just like the people, it's really nice. I feel like we've collected a group of people that I think the gratitude culture helps a lot, like Ivy said, but also I just think we have, because of the mission and the goals that we have in the crypto space, there's usually so many people that are just looking for number go up and trying to make money. And in the TEC community, that's not really there. It's like people who really want to see some kind of change and do things in a different way, and build something real and create value. And it's just really nice to hang out with people. Like I feel like the TEC is all my friends now, and that kind of environment is really nice. I think it has a lot to do with a lot of other pieces, and it might be more of a symptom than a cause, but it's still a positive symptom. But it's still really nice. And I'll pass it to Chewy.
The question is what I've enjoyed about these meetings, right?
What do you enjoy the most from your experience on TEC?
I think getting to know new people. I think that has been really good because everyone is pretty good at what they do, but because of how these calls are and everything, when people come together and start sharing like some of their way of thinking or what changes they would like to see in the world, and just reaffirming that we have like similar intentions and that we want to see similar changes in the world. Just sharing that with people is one of the things I enjoy the most. I don't know if Juan is missing or he already pass. But
Gracias, Chuy. Well, I'm glad I had time to think about this because there were so many amazing things. But I would say that is sense of belonging to something bigger, because like I see a reality in my country that is like really sad, and like being here gives me a lot of hope into like bringing new ideas into the world, changing institutions, providing value, and yeah, that is like super motivating for me. And also I am glad that I think that I found a place because I have had like I have shared my idea, but like no one really got the idea or the essence behind it. And I really feel that this community like embraced it and like powered it to involved in, and all the other projects that are happening. So yeah, and I learned a lot. So I am super happy about the experience that I've had in the TC.
Thank you. I would just add that gravity is probably one of the best differentiations of the TC among the rest of other DAOs and other groups around, and that's what I'm also makes me feel proud of being into this community. Also, here's the agenda, and we're working on the on the source cred and impact hours. I think I remember that at the very end of the document, we were we suggested that Juan Carlos would take a look at it here at the very end, describing I think describing the gravity process here on this area, and that was just about that I can think of that was missing. Is that correct, Sean?
Yeah, that was the main takeaway from this document. There were a couple of other minor changes in the document that I made, namely that there could be theoretically other tokens that function in a similar way to the impact hours token. That would work and be subject to the same issues that the here is a discussion of gravity.
Okay.
Or a link
to. Do you want Juan
to a gravity?
Carlos? Do you want to have an open discussion on that here today before you go into describing it, or you prefer to give you a little description here and we go over it next week?
Well, I made a paragraph, but I didn't paste it in that document. It seems that I wrote it.
It's the paragraph that I saw here, just this one?
Yeah.
Okay, we just can add that here.
Or from the stewards working group can approach the proposer to suggest adjustments or withdrawal of the proposal. If the proposal continues and passes without the changes suggested, the proposal can be challenged by any member of the community for an arbitration process using Celeste as the disputable voting mechanism.
Okay. How does that sound, Sean?
First impression is I think it looks pretty good. I might want to just take a little closer look at it after we get off the call. It might be worthwhile having a link where we talk about Celeste so that there is some, further discussion of it. I don't think it needs to be here. But since this is, we talked about this before, there's the kind of documents where we can expect people to come to it with a certain amount of sophistication because they've been involved in the process. So like the hatch documents, we don't have to necessarily define every use of the term or what every working group is about because there's a sort of collective knowledge of a community, especially a community that doesn't really exist yet or is just beginning, it's nascent. They're going to need more not hand holding, but it's the first phrase that comes to mind of what is Celeste, what is gravity, what are these mechanisms for dispute resolution. And so I might just want to just go through there and think about, should we have a link or for a further discussion, go see this. And so that might help.
Okay, yeah, I agree. We are so used to the language and the wording that we don't realize that newcomers may be lost with all these terms. Any other suggestion here?
My question was really if it's well written, the idea of like first starting gravity and maybe using Celeste if it's like needed for like bigger disputes in the sense of conviction voting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we're not discussing here conviction voting. This document was for any issues that may arise or disputes that may arise because I feel that I've been contributing a lot and I see that after the distribution from last week, I get less rewards, whatever the rewards are, from John when I see that he's been out on vacation, for instance. All right, those are the kind of disputes that we were thinking on when we were working on this document.
Okay, then maybe I am the one that I'm a little bit lost because I made this thinking on proposals.
Okay,
So
yeah,
I think there might be at least let's look at this. So like, let's say we're doing a source cred distribution, source cred praise distribution, right? There'll be a DAO, or the way I would imagine it is there'll be a DAO that is like a working group that is managing these distributions. They will make proposals to get funding from conviction voting to get that money to be distributed. So there could be an interaction with proposals for the distribution. It's not like as direct because the money will probably come from the DAO, which has already requested the funds in advance, but they will be making future proposals and this DAO could be, so I don't know. I just want to throw that out there.
Well, there's actually the way you describe it, there's two types of potential conflict, if you want to call it conflict. One is by the amount that they require on the proposals and the amount that the DAO decides to give away to this group dealing with the distributions, or by the distribution of every distribution period, because I foresee that I'm not being treated fair according to what I've been giving for that week or that period or whatever. So there's probably two kinds of potential disputes. So the way that this paragraph has been described, Juan Carlos, I believe that this matches more what Griff was describing, but not a potential dispute or or conflict due to the distribution itself.
Yes. Yeah, I see now that I made this paragraph thinking more on the proposal terms than to the distribution. But yeah, I can for sure edit it because yeah, I understand that it's not the purpose of the document to have this information there.
Okay, I'll just add that there, and you can just write down whatever you think maybe enough. All right, and we can just go over next week after you can update it. Sounds good.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, let's go to the other document, the proposal document, and I'll just leave this here by now, and because we may need to use it also here, Juan Carlos. So I'll just leave it here, and if we have to change it, we will. So this is the skeleton that you. Okay.
But donations are usually more of a crowdfund thing, whereas like an organization gives grants.
Mhm.
So
I was just asking legally. I figured out probably they mean the same, but I don't know if it makes any difference from a legal perspective.
I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's a difference here. My guess is that typically we're going to be more concerned with the function than the word chosen.
Okay.
Although, words can, if we use them imprecisely, can create confusion where we don't want them to be, where we don't want there to be confusion. The words themselves that are chosen are not determinative of what is or isn't happening. And so even if we change the word to donations, I don't think that legally actually changes anything because it's still the same process. It's still, the DAO is going to have, these funds, the community is going to vote on a proposal. If the proposal passes, these funds get distributed. Whether we call that a grant, a donation, a gift, is less consequential than the actual process that leads up to it.
Okay.
So this section here, the DAO via the community, it just lays out in a couple of sentences that as the community manages the funds and basically direct the funds to which projects pass. As long as the processes are followed, then the DAO just facilitates the money getting to the winning proposals. The next section's on taxes, and this is just basically saying, look, the DAO, no member of the community is providing any advice about any of the tax implications of a proposal because there's no way for us to know. There's just, it's impossible. at the outset, we can't even imagine. We can say, oh, this project's a really neat idea, or this is a project we'd love to see. But how that project's managed and what the tax consequences are of that, it's impossible to upfront kind of say. So we're just letting the community know, look, there may be tax implications of the proposal once it passes and the project gets put into effect. And it's going to be your responsibility to determine what, if any, taxes apply to the grants received through the TEC. And so, there's assessing taxes, collecting taxes, reporting taxes, paying taxes. None of that is being handled by the DAO. There's no money being withheld by the DAO in order to fulfill any tax obligations. There's nothing there. It's all hey, make sure this is on top of
should we add here that we will not provide any documentation? Because I try to think myself, okay, if I have to pass a tax report, I need an invoice, I need some document. Even if it's a grant, I need to justify that that's a grant. So should we add that we are not going to be providing any of those, basically because there's no entity behind it to provide it?
That's a good question, because I'd have to look to see, at least in the jurisdiction I'm familiar with, what obligations come from the giving of a grant, whether that is a specific form that's out there. Because we should be able, it's gonna be, I would think, I guess I haven't thought this through all the way. I would think that any proposal that passes is going to be kind of just out there for the community to see, like into the future. There's no deleting a proposal that passes. We're going to be able to go back and say, look, in the year 2020, these are the proposals that were made. These are the ones that passed. These are the ones that failed. That's theoretically all right there on through the conviction voting. You're going to get to see that, whether or not a proposal passed or failed, and therefore what was, and if it passes, what was distributed. But whether or not the DAO will send a whatever tax form would normally be sent, we may have to include a line in there that says, hey, we're not preparing something, we're not there's nothing, because there's nothing, there's no
right. You just go ahead and look at the blockchain information. That's all you have.
Yeah, and at least in that way we know it's you can't mess with it and you can't change it, but at the same time, there's just not going to be an entity to create a document. So we probably need something in there. I'll make a note.
Okay. What are your points, Griff, on that? Anything else you want to add?
I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not like, when you give someone money. What I feel like what matters is if you want to attach strings or not. And I don't think that we're going to try to attach any strings. I think it's like, here's money, hope it works out.
Yeah, but the one receiving receiving it has implications, tax implications.
Well, maybe, depending on their jurisdiction. I mean, the tax stuff is like, at least with crypto, I've always just defaulted to, it's, you figure out your taxes, it's on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, but the point here is, at least in Spain, if my dad gives me an amount of money, I have to declare it and I have to pay taxes. So I need a document proving that money is coming as a gift. Okay, that's what I want to avoid from people receiving money from the DAO. I want to state clear that we are not an entity and we are not going to be giving any document for them to deal with their tax implications. That was
fair.
the point.
When we launched the DAO, the last step was solving this issue. This was the last blocker for launching the DAO, and we created this system called DAO Link, which was a Swiss entity that could be a go-between. Because in Switzerland, you can receive money from anything. It's super easy, including a smart contract. And then the Swiss entity has a tax number that people in Europe could actually like cite and say, I got money from this Swiss entity. We could try to create something like that for the DAO, but I would say it's scope creep for us, and people have accepted that like it's basically, Craigslist money or Wallapop money. It's like stuff just happened and money moved hands, and each individual has to deal with the stress.
I know, that's why we want to include that sentence there, because even Wallapop money, the guys here in Spain, the IRS here in Spain is going after people, selling a bunch of stuff from Wallapop money. If you sell a couple of things, it's not a big issue. But if you start seeing that you're selling a bunch of stuff, they come after you, and you're going to have to prove that that's coming from a Wallapop sale. And that's the only way to get it is knocking on the door of Wallapop and requesting that information. And we're not going to provide that.
No. Yeah. It's good to match expectations.
I'll get a sentence in there for next week, and we can take a look at it. I get it, Grip, because mission creep is a real issue, and we don't want to inadvertently grind things to a halt.
And it's just something we can do after the launch.
Right. I mean, it's almost like I want to write I wish there was a best practices manual that we could all be reading from, but there's not. And
for each jurisdiction, there are solutions. It's just like trying to get a global solution is impossible,
Right.
So
right.
The Swiss entity.
The only upside is at least with the blockchain is it's available. That information is there.
Right.
And so at least we'll be able to sit there and say, look, project A, passed in 2021 and got, 100,000, whether it's wrapped XDAI or regular XDAI, and that's what was transferred in 2021 to this address. Great. I mean, that to me, this doesn't mean it's legal, but to me, in terms of trying to make sure it functions correctly in whatever jurisdiction you're in, that's the information you want, right? Irrevocable, correct information. That doesn't mean, Canada thinks that's right, or Zimbabwe thinks it's right, or New Zealand thinks it's right. But I would at least be able to look at them in the eye and say, look, this is real. This happened and it can't be changed. Short of some kind of 51% attack on the XDAI network, which I don't even think could happen. You can't change this information. It's just there. So if someone says, oh, I only got 10,000 wrapped XDAI through this project, and some tax entity from some jurisdiction goes, does that sound right? You should be able to look just clearly at the blockchain and go, look, there's the wallet and there's what went into it. And whatever implications that has for the recipient is the implications for it. So I think that's when you're trying to solve issues multi-jurisdictionally, I think Santi's right. You want to say, hey, look, you may be used to getting X document or Y document, and a DAO can't do that. At least in this iteration, or at least with our understanding of how it works.
We'll never do that.
We'll never do that.
Yeah.
So we might just as well tell them, and that's it.
Yeah. So
this is it. You got the money, get out of here.
You have the money, and people can see. Like, you can't, like, hint, people can see the blockchain. So don't go misreporting something, because there's nothing to be gained from that, because no one can sit there and go wink, wink. Oh, actually, Project A got, they really did only get 10,000 wrapped XDAI. No, they got 100,000. It's right there on the chain. You can see it. You can see the wallet address. You can see that it cleared. And so it's just, I don't know what the XDAI equivalent of Etherscan is, but you'll be able to, so you'll be able to go there and just see. That's just the end. And so, yeah, I can make that a little clearer, for sure.
Okay, good.
Cool.
So the next
Let's keep
section,
moving.
modifications. Yeah, next section, modification of services. Basically, just this is a reoccurring theme, I think, in a lot of documents. Although I probably said it 5 different ways in 5 different documents, but the DAO manages itself. It's the community that manages it, and look, it can modify, suspend, stop. It can pause itself temporarily or permanently, at any time and for any reason and without any notice, because that's just how the community can make things work. And so it's just I really want people to understand that there isn't a board of directors here. This isn't there's no trust that is running, this charity. It's just ran by the community. And in that way, if it decides it doesn't want to exist, and there's some proposal to basically shut the whole thing down, and it passes, it shuts down, and that's the end. And so it's kind of a reoccurring theme that I think everyone that interacts with the DAO has to understand, that there's no rules that are kind of set in stone. Everything is up to the community. Data retention. This is, I think someone else started writing this, and I think I just fiddled with the language a little bit. But look, we foster transparency. I don't know. I'm unaware of any organization that records legal working group meetings. So, clearly there's sort of a radical transparency that's kind of inherent to the project. But a lot of the information is just out there. The wallets, the information, where the money goes. We just talked about that with taxes. But the DAO itself isn't storing any personal information from users. And so I want to make that distinction that we're not creating charity lists. We're not saying, oh, who are the people that got involved in the project, and then using that information for, someone else's benefit. Does that make sense?
Well, I was thinking on the info that gets posted for a proposal that usually is posted in the forum. That service, I understand it's a centralized service, right, Griff?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we cannot guarantee that information is going to be there forever. It's going to be there until the service provider decides to keep it or delete it or just close down. So
can you just write a small bit in that document, Santi, and I can make that point. That to the extent that we rely on any third-party services, that we can't make any promises about what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I will fiddle with that during the week.
Okay.
And then the last section, prohibited conduct. I thought this was a point where we're either going to link to the Git book, or we could put it here. I don't think there's no reason why we can't. It's impossible for us to tell you everything the community is, unhappy with or unlikely to support. But I know the Git book does have a small section on both what it wants in terms of proposals, as well as stuff that's, not up the community's alley. So I don't know if we want to do and I'm sorry, that should be the link below in prohibited conduct. So
do we want to add any? Does that Juan Carlos? I believe you are the one probably knowing the most this content. We can open it up, but do you think there's any additional information besides the information included in the code of conduct that we should include as a specific section for the proposal, or everything included there is more than enough?
I think that the link to the Git book and the link to the graduated sanctions guideline can be like enough, and it's like a bunch of information.
Okay, good. Good. So we'll just start those there. And leave it as it is.
Maybe we can just phrase like, we have a code of conduct, and you can see that here, like the link. And if you have like, if you want to know what is our framework for the possible disputes that, or the possible conflicts within the organization, you can see our guide.
My comment goes more in the direction of things that will have to be, or that we expect from the proposers and the proposals, and that are unique for that specific relationship. Like, okay, they may arise conflicts, and that's well described on the code of conduct. But for instance, we grant the money, we're not going to check anything, but we expect that whoever gets the money at least tries to go ahead and do whatever they propose that they will do. And I don't foresee that on the code of conduct. I don't know if we want to include it or not, if we should include it or not. We, of course, not going to check how the people uses that. If they want to kill the reputation, just not doing anything that they promised, that's no problem. You're never going to get back anything from the tech. But I don't know if we should include something related to that in the prohibited conduct or not.
Santi, I think that's a decent idea, because it's probably worthwhile saying, I think it's repeated elsewhere, if not in the TEC's internal documents, at least in a lot of some of the Medium posts I've read from community members, how important reputational kind of capital is, and so obviously if someone does a project and it passes and they do a really bad job on the project, like stuff just doesn't get done. I'm not even saying like fraud or stealing or kind of crypto specific rug pulling. I'm just saying they just don't do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
That should, even though the TEC is not going to audit any proposals that pass, those reputational impact, could have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's worthwhile saying. I think it's worthwhile, even with the links, probably saying, hey, look, we don't want any proposals that are going to violate the laws of any jurisdiction where the proposals are going to be implemented. And it's probably even worthwhile making at least one sentence to like, come on, everyone, be smart and
Right.
follow the laws of your jurisdictions.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we can't list out every single thing that could go wrong, because what's legal in Amsterdam to do, it just may not be in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it's going to be. Something's legal in Barcelona, and it's not going to be legal, 300 miles east.
Right.
So it's probably worthwhile, even with the links, a sentence or two saying, hey, look, we're not auditing, but your reputation matters. So, if you do a bad job on projects, it's going to have an impact. Follow the laws of your jurisdiction, and at least try to hit some of the big points. Usually with legal documents, the advice is list every humanly possible thing you can think of. And then that last phrase is, this is not an exhaustive list of prohibited conduct and blah, 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 blah. So I don't think we should need to list every prohibited conduct, but we probably want to say some of those big points. So those links are helpful, and then I'll fiddle with the section this week.
All right. Okay. From the ones left, what do you think we should focus on for the next week? What do you have in mind?
So I think for next week, I I want to save the proposal creation and the proposal recipient for the last section because I just think those are the most important.
Mhm.
And I think we could probably knock out both of those in one 1 hour session. But it's probably should be the last thing. So I was
Mhm.
thinking the fees on making a proposal,
Uh-huh.
because I know we've kind of talked about that. I think we've talked about it at least in terms of the proposals for launching the
The
upgrade
hatch.
DAO. Exactly.
Yeah,
But I don't think we've ever
those are
really
there
talked about
because we don't
those.
want anyone to mess around. We're gonna put a high fee. So just,
Yeah,
you know, the ones that we expect get there and not, anything else. But
exactly.
we have to discuss. Well, we have to talk about the fees if there's gonna be any, or at least leave the door open in the event we ever want to add any. There may be no fees initially or never, but we may decide as a DAO that we want to add a fee. So at least we get the way of spam,
Exactly. Exactly. And
and
I know that
and then
kind
there will be
of
the.
dovetails with the proposal creation, but I think we tackle the fees next week.
Mhm.
And I think that starts us on the process of even if there's no fees now, we don't anticipate there being fees. Fine, there may be fees in the future, and then fine, that becomes an easy section for us next week. But then we jump then into the proposal creation through the channels we've talked about where proposals will be made, and then receiving the grant itself.
Mhm.
And I think that we got to do collaboratively, like everyone all together, just because it's just I don't want to mess that section up. And so
Okay.
I want to kind of in real time. We should probably tackle that. But for next week, I can go through and make the edits we talked about. Start with the fees for making a proposal, and then we can address how right or wrong I got that, and then save the creation and receiving the money for the week after.
Still, we have plenty of time. I mean by that we can start having a draft proposal terms document and tweak it as we approach the moment when, and probably after the first proposal passes, or while the first proposal is passing, we may have a good experience to be able to probably finalize the little changes that this document may require, because there's things that we have in mind but are not still implemented and may not be implemented until we have the first proposal approved and the funds are being sent. So although we have to have something written, and that has to cover, I would say, 90% of the relationship for the proposals, uh, we probably may have to end up making little changes as we start in getting into the process.
No, I think you're right. I think that's exactly right. And I know there are other DAOs out there. I know there are other DAOs doing similar thing, and OneHive's probably the best example. But you have LawDAO and a couple of the others. But we really are kind of at the bleeding edge of what the best practices are. And so we'll kind of have to see how things go and fiddle with the documents as we're kind of, the
Do you
project
need
goes live.
any additional info, Sean, for next week that we can provide or we can look after for next
Yeah,
week?
so if there's a place to see a discussion of how proposals theoretically will work in the upgraded DAO, I'd love to see it. I don't think that's in the Git book. I don't I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've read the Git book beginning to end, and I don't think
It's
there's
out of scope for us right now. That's the thing.
okay. Okay.
Is
So
there, Griff? Is
if
there
there's a
any? Is there
reason post,
any?
anything,
Is there any other DAO that we can look at that has a
It's
similar
gonna be
process?
exactly like OneHive after their upgrade when they
Okay.
move to Celeste. It'll be the exact same.
Okay.
gotcha.
So actually, you can go on. There's a blog post or a forum post that Sem made, that says, "Hey, go test out Rinkeby. Go test out Celeste on Rinkeby," and it
That's on
will
one
be
Hive. That's on one Hive
on,
forum.
yeah. And so it is deployed on testnet, right now, and you can go play with it, and you can have the full experience. And I can make a link. I can add the link to our legal
document
chat.
here. Yeah, or to
Yeah, if you put it in the legal channel, that'd be perfect, Griff, and would absolutely cut down the time I spend on this tremendously.
And I can invite Sam to join next week if he has time.
That'd be great.
Just if he has time, Griff. Just if he has time to explain a little bit the process here.
Yeah, and I can explain the process if you need.
Oh, if you can, then that's fine.
I can do it right now if you guys want it. If you really want to dive into it.
Yeah, we have some time left, so yeah, it'd be great.
Okay, well, maybe the best way to do it is to let me find this. I think it's under proposals, maybe under advice process. Oh, I know. I'll search for Celeste, and I'll let me share screen.
You can share the screen. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just search for Celeste. Huh. Here we go. And Celeste demo. So this is the starting point, but it is a bit of a maze to get past it. But I'll just link this really quick. Okay, so here Sam kind of describes an overview of how we're going to use it, and I posted some pictures of interesting features that have been integrated. But let's just dive into the actual OneHive forum post. So here is where OneHive gives a more in-depth overview with lots of links. It's an endless rabbit hole if you really want to play. And let's hope that it's still working. So there is quite the process. To actually propose to this DAO, you're going to have to put down a deposit in Celeste, and you're going to have to sign agreements. You're going to have to do a bunch of stuff. So I've already done a lot of this stuff, but hopefully it'll still let me. Let me make sure I'm on XDAI. Yeah. That's not true. I am on the right. I am definitely on the right network.
Are you on Rinkeby?
Oh, haha, you're right. Thank you. It's like, no, I'm on XDAI. Thank you. I wasn't reading. Ooh, they updated this a lot. That's cool. So, okay, maybe we'll start here. So here's where proposals are, right? So I want to I can vote on proposals using this interface. I want to create a proposal. So I am required to first, before I can submit proposals, I have to sign the covenant and I have to deposit collateral. So here's the covenant. And it's like, I can read it here. This is just a classic open source covenant. They don't really add much. So I'll have to sign something, and our community will have to figure out this text. It's already built in. It's kind of cool. Transactions being mined. Oh no! I still need to deposit collateral too. So then I'll come in here. Yeah, they improved this a lot. I will deposit. Oh no, I don't think I have any of the test tokens, but I'll have to deposit some of these test honey tokens. and then I'll be able to actually go through and make a proposal. And what will happen when I actually make a proposal is that I will let me when I actually go to make a proposal, I will have
Hey, Griff, I actually have some test honey if you want. Just
Yeah.
send me it just real quick and I'll send it to you.
Oh, you hero. How convenient. I'll send you a DM on Discord. So that'll just take a second. But and then also I can become a juror on Celeste, but this is completely through OneHive. So this is like our an external party doing disputes. So I can give them my email. What the heck? Why not?
It's done.
Thank you, Chewy. Yeah, that's fine. And then so like the jurors have this interface, but the TEC doesn't have to do any of this. This is like infrastructure for many DAOs, and the TEC is one of them that will use this juror infrastructure. So yeah, that's that. But let's try this again. How much did you send me?
I sent one.
Cheap. So cheap. Just kidding. What? Oh, come on. It still says I don't have any. Did the transaction actually go through? You might XDAI seems to be getting attacked on the reg. Oh, is this Rinkeby? Is this, maybe they have a different test token?
That's what I was thinking. I might have gotten like an earlier one, but
to get some test honey, I have to fill out a form. Blah blah blah. Okay, well, it's okay because there's also.
That's weird. But
so what I made some issues and screenshots that show the next steps. So let me see here. Okay, so once I've put down a deposit, then I'll have this screen where you have you can choose between a signaling proposal, one that doesn't send money out anywhere, it's just question to the community, and then a funding proposal. So here I said, okay, here's the title, here's the requested amount, and then here's the beneficiary, the address that receives the money, and here's a link to the description of the proposal. And then when I go through that, boom, I have a proposal up here on their voting page. And that's basically the process.
That's really helpful, Griff. I will definitely fiddle around more with Santi's run me through Honey, I think one time before, but I will play around with it even more now and take a deep dive into it.
Yeah, just make sure to fill out this form right here to get test honey.
Yeah, I might be able to send you some test honey. I believe I have some.
But yeah, but just be careful because as you can see, Chewy, there might be multiple test honeys. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this form is now closed. Come on. Boo. So yeah, but we can ask in the forum. Just say, hey. In fact, we can probably get Chewy. Chewy, if you want to, you're one hive, so you can.
I'll ask Ricardo Perez. He's the one that sent me this last one, so I'll just ask him for you.
Yeah, and then Santi or Chewy, anybody who wants test honey, just talk to Sean, and anyone else who wants test honey, just talk to Chewy.
All right, that's great. Okay, I think we made it to the hour. So if anyone goes over Celeste, we can talk about it next week, and we can go over those sections that Yushan proposed for next week. All right. Thank you all for coming. Have a great weekend. I'll see you, some of you, later on. Okay. Bye-bye.
I'll write to you in some minutes about the test honey.